A very good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining with us today. Today, this webinar will be focusing on the automation feature which is available in Zoho Books. In Zoho Books, you would be aware about the customization and automation capabilities we have. So, here we will talk more about the automation features which will help you effectively. So, before we begin the webinar, we have a few housekeeping activities. The product which we are using for this webinar is called Zoho Trainer Central. It is a Zoho's in house application. So, if you have any product related queries during the course of the webinar, please post them in the questions tab. Also, if you have any audio visual issues, please post them in the chat window. So, we shall begin this webinar. Run us through this webinar. We have Sai Prasad here with us. Over to you, Sai.
Thank you, Priyadarshini. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for making your presence for this webinar. I'm Sai Prasad, and today we are going to talk about the time-saving activities, or like saving your time from recurring actions by using the automation functionality in Zoho Books for steering your businesses to the maximum efficiency. So let me quickly run through the agenda of today. So we'll be focusing on a brief introduction about automation. And in Zoho Books, we have the predefined automation, the script-based automation, and the automation with third-party applications. So we'll be looking into on how to configure these type of automation and the capabilities that you can use for various scenarios in your business needs. And then we'll wind up this webinar by looking into a quick recap and question and answers. So I would like to start with a question on what is automation. So let's say you have a manufacturing company, and you will do many job works which will be repeated in nature, which in turn cost more labors. That will be very much cumbersome to manage the labors, as well as the output of job work will also be very much cumbersome. Like that is, it might be precisionless, or like it might be having some accuracy issues when we are looking into the issues. So to ease out this process and for precision job working capabilities, let's say we purchase a robot which does all the work with that we are programming to it, and uh, this robot can do all the works which can be done by 5 people at a time. So in a single time cost, this process is generally known as automation. So basically, automation is something where you can define a set of rules to a system, and the appropriate actions will be performed by the system on a recurring basis or one time in bulk. And for physical works, that might be a useful thing. How about the same automation comes to help us complete our day-to-day business needs? So being in business also, we'll have very tedious tasks to complete, and to the repeated task for following up our customers for payments, and checking with their suppliers if the consignment has been shipped or not, updating the information for accounting system, and so on and so forth. So here's where Zoho Books paves the way to automate the repetitive tasks in managing your financial and accounting needs. So you can define a set of rules in Zoho Books, and the required actions will be taken care by the system of Zoho Books without any manual intervention, thereby saving your time, allowing you to focus on other activities to scale up for the business. The automation functionality in Zoho Books can be split into three types, which are the automation that doesn't involve any scripting or coding, the automation that involves scripting, and the automation capability by using scripting with the dependency of a third party applications. So let's look into automation that doesn't involve any script or coding. So this is a simple type of automation where you can automate all the invoice reminders to the customers, and for reminding your purchase team to pay for the bill to your vendors. And you can also set up a task for your customer, for your users in your organization to complete certain activities. And also you can define some rules to send email alerts to the customers or your users, and you can show up in-app notification and field updates also. So let's see a deep dive into into these workflows and automation. So being in a business world, we might be buying and selling goods on credit basis, that is to buy or sell right at the moment and then pay on a later date. So which while this helps in increasing the sales or purchase values, it is also important that we pay or receive the payment for the sale before the due date, so that we ensure that business is on track. So Zoho Books lets you to send email to your customers or the users to remind them to make payments for the unpaid invoices or bills. So you can either send the invoices manually or automate the process for sending, start collecting the payments on a quickly basis. So let's see how to set up the this manual reminders and send the manual reminders for the invoices. So in Zoho Books, we'll be able to navigate to settings, and in the settings module, we'll find the option reminders and notifications, in which we'll have the reminders module. In the reminders module, the first option will be for the invoices where we can set up the manual reminders. So by clicking on this edit icon near the actions, we'll have the option to customize the information. That is the from email address, from which email address you will have to send this email, and then the CC email address and BCC email addresses. So you can select the email addresses as per your requirement, and then the subject of the email. So you can either customize this with a single customized subject, or you can insert the placeholders. That is, if we click on the insert placeholders icon, we'll have the option details here that will be fetched from the invoices as well as the customer details as well as the organization level information. So based on these information, we can add up the placeholders to the subject, and then we can customize the content that is available in the box. So this content will be sent to the customers when the invoice is on the overdue status. So once this is saved, when we are navigating to any invoice that we are creating, and let's say if it is a overdue invoice, we will have the option to select the reminders option near this edit and this bar. So we'll have the option to send email. Once we click on send email, the details of all the overdue information and the template will be filled in here. So we can just send it by either attaching the customer statement, or you can just send the invoice PDF alone for this particular reminder. And speaking about the reminders, we have we saw the overdue reminders, and then we have the sent invoice reminders as well. So when we click on this invoice, the edit option for the sent invoices, we'll have this option like the due date is fast approaching, kindly pay the invoices. So you can configure the content as per your requirement. You can change the text format. So you can also make this as a heading, and then you can bold the customer name, and then you can make it as italics. All the formatting options that is available here can be utilized, and then you can also insert certain links that is required. You can also add some pictures from a public URL of a picture as the image source, and then if it is like a customized format for which if you need to display it on a different format itself, you can use this option where it will be a simple HTML type of coding based on which the content will be populated. And the same thing which will arrive in the insert placeholders option, where we can insert the placeholder at the required position of the content. So once this is set up, when we are sending a reminder to a sent invoice which is not in an overdue or which is not crossed the due date, the reminder for sent invoices, the content for sent invoices will be sent. Now let's look into the automated reminders. So automated reminders, let's say for example we have a scenario where we will be sending a reminder to our customers 2 days before the due date, and on the date of due date while it is getting crossed, and then 2 days after the due date if still the if still the invoice has not been paid by the customers. So we can configure multiple reminders by adding this new reminder option, and this will ensure that you will have the option to remind how many days after or before the due date, and then the reminder name can be given, and the content can be customized in such a way where we can where the content will be sent automatically when the specific condition reaches, that is the due date condition reaches for this particular invoice. So to start these reminders based on the due date, we'll have the option to by navigating to the invoices reminders. If we click on reminders, we'll have the option to start reminders and stop reminders. So we can just click on start reminders, for which for this invoice all the reminders will be sent, that is configured under the automated reminders section. So apart from the reminders that is based on the due date, we have an option called as expected payment date. Though we have a due date, sometimes the customers might be paying to us on a specific expected payment date. So for updating the expected payment date, while navigating to an invoice under the reminders section itself, we'll have the option to update the expected payment date. So where we can update the invoice expected payment due and the notes related to it. And then we can also configure this don't remind about the payment until then, because if we are reminding based on the payment date, then the customer might be asking us, right? So we have the privilege to stop reminders, stop the other due date based reminders, so that the only the reminder based on the expected payment date will be sent to the customers. Once the so we have set up the invoice level reminders to track our sales and the payments related to the sales transactions. So let's say we are looking into the sales, but we will also have to be in a better position to make the payment to our vendors on the due date, right? So to configure those information, we have the bills related reminders as well, the automated reminders related to the bill, where we can select the where we can define a reminder to configure the respective content and the name of the reminder, the users, that is if we are selecting the email to option, it will send to the respective user or the organization email that is selected in the sender email preferences. And then you can CC the respective email address, and BCC also can be added. So these reminders can be enabled by toggling the status button, and once we save the details, we will have the option to select the information. So we can just, by the click of this toggle button, we can enable or disable the reminders. And in the while for enabling this reminders, after enabling this reminders, we'll have the option to associate these reminders in the bill level as well, like we saw in the invoices. So now that we have sent the reminders to the customers, and we have sent the reminders to our internal users for making the payments, we'll also have some more tasks that has to be performed related to these transactions, right? So to have that catered in Zoho Box itself, we have the module called as task. So these task related modules will be helping out in assigning tasks to the user, either to follow up for the respective vendor to ensure that the shipment has been fulfilled or not for the bill, and also to send a reminder to the user to follow up with the customer if they have made the payment or not. The manual reminders as well as the user level reminders can also be set up through task. So by navigating to the settings module, under the general settings, we'll have the task module which will be available here above the payroll. Once after enabling this, after saving the information, at the top right side near the notification tab, we'll get the tasks module which will get appeared. Once this is coming, so we can add a task here by clicking on the plus new button. You can give a task title. Let's say it is to follow up on invoice. And then you can select the related contact that is related to the specific customer or a vendor, and then the due date to complete this particular task, and then you can assign it to the respective user. And once this is completed, you can notify the user via email. You can also set up a reminder. So you can set up a reminder 1 day before the due date or 2 days before the due date as per your requirement. And then you can set up the configuration of alert type as in email alert or in-app notification as well. So if you want to attach any documents that is related to this task, you can use this upload file option to upload the files and information. And the most importantly, we can set up the priority of this task as well, where if it is very low to very high. And once this task is complete, once this task is saved, the user will be notified via email, and the user can navigate to this task module to check what are all their pending tasks to be done. And by navigating to the single task, they'll have the option to update the status of the task. But if there is a task that is given to a user, let's say for example there is a manufacturing company, and then we need to update a task related to a sale, which is a manufacturing, and this manufacturing involves multiple stages, and once every stages is completed, we'll have to update the each stage by the user. So to configure these type of stages in the task, we'll have the option to associate multiple custom statuses for the for the task module. So in the settings module, if we are going to the task preferences, we'll have the option to associate custom status, where we can add stage 1, stage 2 for the in progress type of in task, or we can also select the custom status for yet to start, in progress, or completed. So based on this information, the respective status can be configured by the user in the task level. And you can also configure if you have to notify users when their status is changed, and also you can set up a reminder by default. You can set up these preferences. And once the task is complete, the user will have the option to select the task details by navigating to the task and then clicking on change status. We'll have the option to select it as stage 1, and the respective details will be updated here. Once it is completed, the completed status can also be updated here. However, if there are multiple stages and if there is a percentage of completion that has to be updated, we'll have the option to select the percentage as well. That is, by clicking on this option, the amount of percentage that is completed, we'll have the option to update the level of percentage that has to be completed. Once this is updated, the respective information will be shown in the dashboard of task module. And based on this information, as a business owner, you can understand what is the issue and what is the task that is pending to the users, what is the task that has to be completed on a high priority basis. And this is at the organization level that we had checked for the task. Let's say for a specific type of invoice, we have to associate task to a user. That is also possible by navigating to a invoice. Let's say for this invoice, we have to associate specific user to follow up on the invoice detail, invoice level information. And by navigating to the invoice, we'll have the option to select this task button, and we can add a new task for a user. By selecting the user, in the pop-up that is arriving, we can we can associate the respective information, and the user will be able to follow up on this invoice based on the priority that is available. Once the task is completed, we'll have the option to associate this information to the associate this information as a status to the status update of the task. So the task that is created has been added here. So we can check the associated transaction from the invoice level as well. So now that we have created all this information with the system specific set, and there is no specific rule that we had assigned to it. So let's say there is a specific rule based on which we have to update the details. Say for example, we are as we are running a business, we'll have to configure multiple deals, and let's say there is a big deal that is getting arrived for invoices which is more than 1 lakh rupees, or for orders which is more than 1 lakh rupees. So we'll have to communicate this information to our system or to our users who are using Zoho Books that we have won a big deal, and we have to update these information. And for this purpose, we have the workflow rules that can be set up along with the custom fields. So I believe most of you would have attended the previous session on customization. So in the customization webinar, we had covered on how to create a custom field, all the information. And based on this custom field, let's say we can associate all the workflow rules by covering the email alerts, or we can associate in-app notification, or we can also associate a field update for the invoices or any transaction that we are creating. Let's say there is a sales order that we are getting for more than 1 lakh rupees, which is a big deal. So if we are navigating to the settings module, under the workflow automation module, we'll have the option to associate the workflow actions. So for the respective module, we can associate the information. So there is a big deal alert that is created for sales order now. So to configure this information, that is, this is an email alert. So when we are clicking on new email alert, the details of the pop-up will be arriving, and we can attach the email recipients, and then the email template can also be associated. These email templates will be available under the reminders and notification module in the settings under the email notification. For the respective module under the sales order, for now we are checking the sales order notification. If we are checking on the sales order notification, we can set up the respective content for the email alert that we are sending. So this is a information big deal that has been arrived, and we will be notifying this to the users. So for this email alert that we are configuring right now, it will be notifying the user, the admin user, based on the, you can select the user by associating to the entity, or you can, that is the transaction level, either by created by, modified by, or the salesperson, or the users of the organization, or based on the roles also we can select the information. And if we want, we can attach the sales order PDF as well. And in this way, the email alert can be configured. And in the same way, we can associate the in-app notification as well. Let's say we have won a big deal, and the same sales order big deal, that is the big deal information will be available, and then we'll be able to configure the message that is that has to be displayed to the users of the organization based on the specific entity, that is the transaction level, or at the user level, or at the role level. And we'll also have to update the field also, that is, say for example, there is a custom field, and based on this we'll have to also receive certain or we'll also check, we'll have to check some reports as well, right? So to check some reports, we'll have to update the field based on which we can filter out the reports and then check the information. So we can create a custom field for sales order for the big deal value, and then we'll have the option to update the field, whether if it is a high value big deal, means if it is yes or no, we'll be updating the information. Once these information are set up, that is the email alert, in-app notification, field updates are set up, we can associate these action to a specific rule. By navigating to the automation module under the workflow rules, we can create a new workflow rule. And I'll just quickly show you a big deal rule here. That is, we have created this rule. The name of the workflow rule has been given, and then the module is sales order. And then when the sales order is created, and then we'll have the option to filter the triggers if the total is greater than or equal to 10 lakhs, and then we'll be notifying it. The immediate action will be displayed here, that is either the email alert, field updates, in-app notification. You can either select any one action or multiple action also be configured here based on your requirement. And once this option is saved, we'll have the and if this is satisfied, we'll be getting the respective information as per the action that we have configured. And let's say there is something that has to be associated, or some action that has to be performed on a time based action. So that also we have this option to enable this option. Would you like to have a time based action? And the execution time, that is the time based actions execution time, is 2 days after the rule trigger date. And then the type can be anything of this sort. And then email alert, let's say big deal alert. So we can associate in this way, so that we can ensure that the big deal has been completed or not. We can associate another email alert here that that gets executed 2 days after the rule trigger date. So once the sales order is created, the first three action will be performed, and after 2 days, the other action that has been configured will be coming into perform. Now, once the sales order is created, you'll be receiving your users, or the contact or the role that is configured in the email alert will be receiving the notification, that is in the notification. And then we'll have the option to enter the details of, we'll also have the details that will be configured in the email. And once we are having a email, that is once we are going to the specific sales order, we'll have the option of comments and history, from which we can get to know whether all the information has been updated. That is, the field update has been updated, and then the email alert has been triggered, and then the push notification, that is the in-app notification, has also been triggered for the sales order. So through these workflow actions, we can configure this type of information, which will ease out our process, and we can notify our customers based on our specific scenarios. So now that we have completed with the predefined automations part, so we'll go into the script-based automation. There are multiple scripts that are available, but then in Zoho Books, we have the deluge scripting module, where using this deluge scripting, we can make some simple scripting, and then we can perform our actions based on our requirement. So let's say, for example, there is an invoice, and for each invoice that is crossing the due date, once the due date has been crossed, a 5% late fee has to be associated for the specific invoice. So to configure that, we can configure it as a custom function, so that the automatically, whenever the invoice due date has reached, the 5% of late fee will be added to that invoice. So let's see how this can be configured. In the Zoho Books, when we go navigate to the settings module, at the bottom under the workflow actions under the automation module, we'll have the option of custom functions, and we can configure the custom function. So based on this information, the late fee of the invoice, let's say this is the late fee invoice of the custom function. So this is the coding that is configured for this specific custom function. And once this is specific, I mean, once this is associated, we can define a workflow rule under the late fee invoice. So whenever 0 days after the due date at this particular time, if the status isn't paid, late fee of this particular, that is the late fee has to be calculated, and then the invoice has to be updated based on this information. Once this is completed, the respective information will be updated in the invoice, and how much ever percentage that is required, the percentage will be applied as a late fee to that specific invoice. So being in a business scenario, there will also be multiple updation that has to be updated. On a growing business, we'll have to update multiple places on every actions that has to be done. Let's say for every invoice that we are creating, which is more than 10 lakh or which is more than 1 lakh, or for each and every invoices itself, we'll have to update the invoice number to the to our system also. So to configure this, it is not possible to update it on a custom function which will execute every time when we are creating, because it might be causing in bulk also that those information will be updated, right? So to cater this requirement, we have the custom schedulers, so that can be configured under the settings module. So to update any specific information through scripting only, and through scripting, if you want to update any information through on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis on a regular time, we can configure this custom schedulers. Let's say we have we have configured a schedule where the customer statement will be emailed to the customers manually, and this code will be executed on the selected date and time, and then we can either select the never expires or number of execution or based on the date. And once this is completed, it can be either daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly. Once this is updated, the scheduler will be running, and each information will be that is based on the frequency that is selected. The code will be executed by the system automatically on the respective time. Now, being in a business scenario, we'll also have certain information, like say for example, once we make a payment to a vendor, so we'll have the option to associate, or we'll want to send an email or send a SMS to the vendor when once we make a payment. So to associate this information, we'll have the option, that is we'll be subscribing on a separate module that is present as SMS service provider separately, and then we'll have to update that service provider to to trigger a SMS to the system. And from Zoho Books, we'll have to notify that system. So for this specific requirement, we'll have the option of configuring it under the webhook section, where once the webhook is configured here with the required information, with a simple level of information, where we have some sample information here, where we'll be setting up the URL of the service provider of the SMS, and then we'll be associating the information of all the payload. And once the payload and information is set up, this webhook information can be configured in a workflow rule. Once the vendor payment is created, the SMS to a vendor for the payment that we are making will be sent. So in that way, we can notify any third-party application which is configured outside Zoho Books, and from Zoho Books, we can notify that application to trigger action based on our requirement. So all these workflows we are setting up will be executed based on the rule that we are setting, and we need to check if it has been executed or not, and if it has not been executed properly, we have to check what is the issue that has happened. So to understand that information, we have the workflow logs details, that is under the automation. We'll have the workflow logs information that will be coming, under which for each and every email alert, each and every webhook that is configured, each and every custom function that is configured, and then the schedule that is getting run, all the information will be available. And every information, that is if we are going to the custom function, if we are clicking on this custom function, the result of the custom function will be available. That is, there is a error for this specific custom function, and we have to update the information of the custom function script. Once the custom function script is updated, we'll have the custom function will be running successfully for that particular information. And the email alert which has been triggered will also be available here. Based on this, we can configure we can understand that the workflow is happening properly. We also have certain limitations, like where the number of workflows that can be set up, number of custom functions that can be running will have a certain limit, and these limit will be exceeded based on the number of custom function that has to be configured. So we can also configure notification to use for the usage limit of all the information. That is, email alert, when it has reached 50%, we can just notify the respective user, and we can select it on also we can send the failure logs. If there is any workflow that is failed, then those failure logs will also be sent to the respective email recipients that we are selecting here. Once this is configured, all the information related to the automation module will be sent to the user, and you can manage your business on an easier manner. So now we had looked into the application level information, that is predefined automation, and then the script based automation where the custom function, custom schedulers, and webhooks level information has been configured. Now that from Zoho Books, we are updating a third-party system. But then from third-party system to Zoho Books, we'll have to update certain information. Let's say we have an in-house application, and from that information, from that application, you have to create invoices, or you have to create some action. You have to create some notification to the users. So, say for example, you have we have a business which is running on a shipment basis. So once the invoices, the items associated to the invoice is shipped, we'll have to notify the users that the shipment has been configured or the shipment has been done. And to configure this information, we have the script-based automation with the third-party application using these three information, that is incoming webhooks, signals, and REST APIs. So let me first explain about the incoming webhooks. So by navigating to the settings module, under the developer space, we'll have the option of incoming webhooks that can be set up. Once this incoming webhooks is set up under the developer and data section, in the create incoming webhook section, we'll have the option to associate the respective deluge scripting. And based on the information that is arrived from the third-party application, the action that we are configuring in the incoming webhook section will be performed. And let's say this performance will be, we have to create an in-app notification once the invoice has been shipped with the shipment number. So to create those in-app notification type of automation, we'll have the option of signals that can be used. And this signals, if we are creating a new signal, that is when the third-party application is updating into Zoho Books, the signal will be triggered, based on which the notification will be, that is the in-app notification will be triggered, and this trigger will be based on the application that we are using for shipping our invoices or shipping our items from that is associated in the invoices. So incoming webhooks and signals will be updating the information at the with the data that is available in system and with the data available from the third-party application. So apart from this, here in incoming webhooks and signals, we are using scripting, that is the coding of deluge scripting. And in case if we are having an in-house application where from there we need to update the information or create the transaction in Zoho Books, we have the REST APIs that are available. So let me quickly show you the API documentation in Zoho Books. And using this API documentation, you can configure your own application to update the information into Zoho Books, and based on this information you can create the contacts, you can create the invoices respect to the respective contacts based on the parameters that are available. So this involves multiple coding at your end, where you can combine a script in such a way that once the transaction in the application is created, it gets posted as a contact, or it gets posted as a invoice in Zoho Books. In that way, we can configure multiple information. So that's it with the automation that is involved in Zoho Books. So we were looking into It's the predefined automation where we configured about the email alerts, the in-app notification, field updates, and then we are also updating the task and reminders for the invoices and bills. And then we had the script-based automation using which the custom function and then the information related to webhooks and the schedulers can also be configured. And then we saw the script-based automation where it involved the input from a third-party application or our in-house application. So that's it with today's session. I hope today's session was helpful. If you are having any queries, you can post it in the question section. We'll be happy to help you out. So we have a question that is, will late fee be added as a original invoice itself, or we can we create a debit note related to that invoice? Usually we'll be creating a debit note for the late fee that has to be added to the original invoice. So if you could share us with your scenario, you can later share us with your scenario via email, so that we can configure the custom function based on your requirement. So basically, the outgoing webhooks is nothing but from Zoho Books, we are updating a third-party system. Where, say, for example, if it is a SMS related information, SMS service provider, so it'll be giving the information to the SMS service provider to trigger a SMS at their end. And then we have incoming webhooks. Yes, so incoming webhooks is nothing but from a third-party application, we'll be configuring a webhook which will notify Zoho Books or which will notify an action in Zoho Books to be triggered. And to answer your second question, can we create invoice or customer using incoming webhooks instead of having REST API call? Yes, it is also possible by using the deluge scripting and the APIs that that is available for the deluge scripting as well as the REST APIs that is available for Zoho Books. We'll have the option to associate, or we'll have the option to create these information in Zoho Books. If you are having any difficulties that you are facing, or if you want to have multiple assistants, you can reach out to us and with your scenario so that we can help you out in configuring the same accordingly. So all the custom functions will not be available in the GitHub because custom functions are configured based on the specific or individual business needs. So in GitHub, we have the most common custom functions that are required. However, if you are having any specific custom function requirement, you can reach out to us. We'll be able to assist you on the respective scripting part. So to answer your questions, so if we are navigating to the settings module and under the workflow actions in the custom functions, we'll have this option, try out our example custom function series forum post. So we'll be updating all the custom functions that are available in the GitHub as a forum post that is available for every customers. So by clicking on this view examples, it will navigate in the respective module where the forum page will be opening, and the forum information will have all the custom functions that is available. So by referring this, we can navigate to the custom function and then we can configure the same. So Amazon integration and the order management can be done from Zoho Inventory. So from Amazon or any order management application, the orders can be pushed into Zoho Inventory, which will be seamlessly synced into Zoho Books as well. There is a default integration with Zoho Inventory for this. So for setting up the invoice payment reminder triggered from other user email, we can just navigate to the settings module. Under the email notification, under the sender email preferences, we'll have the option to add a new sender where we can enter the name of the sender and then the email address of the user. Based on this email address, we can associate the respective email address as a from email address that is present in the invoices or the reminders that we are setting up. So all the senders that is listed there will be updated here, and we can also select the customer and copy me or customer also here. The from email address that is present will be there. Yes, it is possible to directly make the entries into Zoho Books from the app that you are having in your business, that is using the REST APIs that we had. Using those REST APIs, we can create the information or create the transaction into Zoho Books. So you can just Google a Zoho Books API and you can refer our API documentation to set up the configuration. The task that we are creating in Zoho Books is only for the users that are available in Zoho Books only. They can navigate to the task module to update the status of the task that is available, that is assigned to them. So the automation that we discussed today will be based on the information that is available within Zoho Books and the actions that will be performed within Zoho Books or from Zoho Books to the other application and other application to Zoho Books. So in case there is a customized flow of information that has to be configured, you can use Zoho Flow for the connection, for establishing the connection between Zoho Books and the other application, and then do the automation. Thank you very much for your patience and throughout the session. So we have answered most of the questions that you had asked. For all the unanswered questions, post this session, we'll be sharing you the information via email. So once that is done, we'll be following up and take it forward from there. Thank you very much for your time. So if you are having any further queries, you can reach out to us via email at support.india@zohobooks.com, or you can reach out to us on a toll-free number that is mentioned in the screen, and we support in the multiple regional languages like English, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and Kannada. Thank you very much. Have a great day.